if you're hiring internationally, you want to find the best person. The best person is not applying for a job on LinkedIn or Indeed because you don't have a brand name, and there's lots of other opportunities out there. So the best talent are passive. They need to be proactively approached using recruitment partners, those types of things. You need to sort of invest the time in it. The other thing, the biggest challenge I find now is speed. Once you have found that person and you say, like, Siraj, you're absolutely our number one person, you cannot spend 2 weeks putting an employment contract together, because if somebody's in the employment market, you might have approached them first. They said, well, if I'm looking for a job, I might as well entertain some of the other opportunities there. So I think from our perspective, it's around, that's where technology comes in, is once you've identified that person, how quickly can you capture all their details, put it into an employment contract, give them the benefits, turn around, get it in their hands, and give them the opportunity to make a decision. My sort of controversial viewpoint is there's no global talent shortage. There are localized talent shortages. And if you look at knowledge workers, as long as you don't need somebody physically on site, so one of the ladies on the panelists yesterday was talking about, we pour concrete and we do rebar. People need to be physically there. Most of our customers are knowledge workers, right? They're in consulting type companies, tech companies. One of the barriers to it is understanding the options. It's very, very complex, right? So you've got HR, legal, tax, compliance. You can't build up that internal expertise within your company if you're only going to have 2 or 3 people in a particular location. So I think, first of all, it's understanding what the opportunities are. By hiring globally and by opening up the aperture, you get diversity. You don't even have to plan around it, because if you're hiring different countries, different cities, you're building that diversity. And I mean, diversity in global organizations is really where the power is, right? And I think the lady yesterday said, we don't need to talk about this anymore. It's been proven. So I think global hiring, yes, it's a point solution for a lot of companies at the moment, but by doing that, you're just bringing diversity into your business. You're reflecting your customer base and things like that. The other thing that we're just starting to see now is companies are very aware of concentration risk, right? Is your supply chain or your people, having them all in one location. So Ukraine with the war over there, certainly from a people perspective, China, Shanghai and lockdowns. So companies are now looking at, how do we sort of disperse this? How do we have a distributed workforce that does play into everything that we're seeing with global remote workforce? So it's really changed the model. And I do think companies now, heads are above water after sort of the pandemic and lockdowns. Companies are being a bit more strategic, and they're thinking not tactically, what do I need to do now, because that was what happened in 2020, early 2021. It's a case of, how do I plan for this? What do I need to put in place, support policies, those types of things. You know, if you're an American company or a UK company, you don't have a brand in Singapore, you don't have a brand in APAC or LATAM. You also don't have an employer value proposition. So actually you need almost to partner with people who can represent you in those locations. And I think the final one is, you might be a company that has a great recruitment or a talent acquisition team that are great domestically, but then you ask them to hire in Singapore or Hong Kong or Australia, it's a new world. And I think the speed of business at the moment, a lot of companies don't have enough time to learn, build the expertise, make the mistakes and those types of things. There's forward-thinking companies that see this is the future of work. There's others that are being forced into it. So I was talking to it's an automotive supplier from Canada that supports Detroit, Ford and all the companies there. They're getting massive turnover because, you know, there's a great resignation, there's high wage inflation. They're looking for mechanical engineers, and they go, we don't actually care where they are, but we want to have a stable workforce. We do want 5 or 10 people. We want them to be in the same location so they can get together. This is a company that 2 or 3 years ago would have never done that, right? They have people in factories. They now know that remote work works. They know that collaboration can work, and they've now got the right technology, the right tools, the right ways of working. That's an option to them. I think they're being forced that way, whereas a lot of our customers are going like, I want to get ahead of this. This is a competitive advantage for me doing that. So it's not just global companies, but it is globally minded companies. And I think, you know, the whole topic of this conference, I don't need to convince anyone of the power of thinking global.